so much for being in this conversation. I admire you so much. I'm inspired by what you've been achieving and the impact that you've had from Abu Dhabi to the rest of the world. So thanks for doing this today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Mark, for having me. And it's a pleasure to be among extraordinary people and being with you here on this conference.
Well, you are an extraordinary guy. I'm hoping that we have an opportunity for everyone who's watching and listening today to visit you in Abu Dhabi and to see the incredible progress and the leadership that's going on there. And one of the areas that we're talking about that is of great interest right now is how is it that we can lead change fast enough with the world changing and being disrupting so many of the conventional things and institutions and processes we've done in the past. And even today, in earlier conversations, you were sharing with me how important it is to think about the customer in a new way, because the customer's circumstances are changing, and also understanding deeper about why they're making the choices that they're making. Could you take me through what we were chatting about a few moments ago with regard to making that sort of decision?
Sure, Mark. First of all, coming from a private sector to a public sector, that was a big shift in my mindset. But keeping my customer in front of me as investors, as clients, as customers, whatever we can call them, was very important from a government or a civil servant point of view. As you said, the region is changing, the economies are changing, pandemics are coming and going. So we have to be as resilient as possible for all these changes. That's number one. Number two, we have to keep in mind that the customer, yes, is always right, also in the government. It's not only in the private sector. But the most important thing is the alignment. And when I say alignment, if I take the shift of a private sector mentality to a public sector mentality, the public sector, you need to work with different stakeholders. It's not like a corporate entity, one single entity with different departments. You have your strategy department, you have the business development, you have your HR. No. Working with different government entities is as hard as you can think about. So the most important thing is alignment. So alignment comes from leadership. So if leadership is aligned completely, the implementation is as smooth as possible, but with a caveat that you need to keep pressure on everybody to deliver.
That makes so much sense. And you have done this over and over again in both the context of the private sector and in the public sector. And I think I was gushing a bit, hoping that everyone watching and listening to this program would take the lesson of what you accomplished when you brought together the leaders, the other chairmen. Could you tell us about the experience and what you did there in terms of actually the process of having people go through the courageous steps of coming together and maybe reevaluating whether the processes were redundant or whether they really added value for that customer?
Yeah, I think one of the initiatives that when I came to the government as a public servant, I thought of it as actually a low-hanging fruit, and this was something that it's a no-brainer. We just need to put it together and just roll it out. I was shocked to see how difficult it was at the beginning, because I was actually walking alone. Because again, coming back to what I was just saying earlier, it is an alignment. And if you don't get that alignment and leadership direction, you won't move. So going back to the same point that you were mentioning, that initiative was how to start your business. And when starting a business, you have a lot of different requirements and requirements that you need to fulfill before you start your operation of your venture. And these requirements don't only come from the Department of Economic Development or the municipality or the civil defense. It comes from a lot of different departments, and the investor, I saw that it was cumbersome on them. They had to go to 14 and 16 different entities just to get their file fulfilled and to check if they are fulfilling the procedures or not. So first of all, We brought everybody around one table. We told them, listen, I am the leader here, or my department is leading this project. You all have to chip in time, money, and resources, and you do what we say. So you have, first of all, you have to pick a leader. You have to have someone that your leadership believes he has the final decision. And obviously accountability and responsibility comes together. So if I win, it's win for everybody. And if I lose, I'm going to lose myself. So I think this was very important to keep that mindset. Number two, the digital space that we use. So we've actually completely digitized the whole journey, and we called it an investor journey. It used to take 3 to 6 months until you operate your business. Now it took us about 3 days. And we're still trying to reduce that. So from 6 months to 3 days, we reduced over 17,000 requirements. Okay, and that's a reduction of 71% of reduction. But this wouldn't have been done unless we were challenging each other. This was very important. It doesn't mean that my colleague or my other entity says, I need this, so I have to put it part of the requirement. You have to convince me, why do you need this? Because I was, or my department or my team was the voice of the investor. Okay, we were always in the shoes of the investor. If I'm not in the shoes of the investor, that doesn't make sense of what they're putting. So we reduced it over 71%. And that was a real accomplishment within 3 months. And we used to have that, I like also to show and shame, to be honest with you. And we used to have this weekly meeting with my colleagues and my boss. And I just show everybody, listen guys, this is what's the percentage of requirement reduction from every stakeholder. And this is what we expect next week, and we need you to push. So keeping people on the spot was important, to be honest with you, provided it actually delivers what you're looking for.
So this is the upside of accountability. Rather than having to whine and push and kick, it's the transparency that you're getting because you're measuring it, and everybody wants to be on the leaderboard. But you don't want to be on the leaderboard of having too many requirements. So you were able to say, do we really want this X number of dozens of pages or hundreds of documents? How did that dynamic work when you're sitting at the table? Everybody, in a sense, has equal power, and maybe equal levels of high ego and self-concept in a good way. I mean, that's why they're leaders. They had to be able to give and take.
Yeah, and this is what's good about leadership here in Abu Dhabi, Mark, is how transparent we are among each other, and how open we are to each other and to our leaders. But as a public space, people are always in their comfort zone. Okay, and coming from a private sector, if I need something that needs to be done today, in the public sector, it takes you maybe a month. But this is now changing completely. It's completely changing now in Abu Dhabi, because now we are all getting that private sector mentality. We're moving in the right direction. There are KPIs that we have to meet. And at the end of the day, what we are doing, is it meeting the promises that leadership have given to the people of Abu Dhabi and the United Arab Emirates or no? But going back again of how transparent my stakeholders and my colleagues with the leadership, yes, some of them were a little bit shocked to see that transparency. And some of them were okay with it because they've actually played ball. But I think because of what they used to have before, that, okay, it's going to take time. Yes, we can do it, but rather than 2 months, it's going to take another 4 months. No, this needs to be done now because there are repercussions. So again, it is very important, regardless who you are, even your most junior person in the company, people needs to be held accountable. If you are a leader and you can't be held accountable, you're not a leader.
The ability to do this also must have been a sense of relief, because often I guess they call it plowing and paving the cow path. You get used to doing it a certain way, and it doesn't work, and either you haven't asked the question or you're frustrated at the the molasses or the friction that it causes. And so this, now seeing the results of it, you've had adoption from the people that you wanted to touch. And I imagine it also had implications internally. I mean, we talk about innovation and entrepreneurship, and then we don't make people inside a company or organization or outside that we're trying to attract feel very welcome in that process by creating these barriers that you've knocked down. How did people feel about the results?
Well, Mark, I'll tell you something before answering that question. It was very important for leadership, in the leadership of this emirate and this country, to give that mindset or that thinking that entrepreneurship and innovation is in the government as well, is in the public service. And this is what me and my colleagues have been doing in Abu Dhabi, in trying to use innovation, use out-of-the-box thinking, use entrepreneurship mindset in changing the government service programs and delivering what we want for Abu Dhabi. But the result, to answer your question, the result was amazing. Next day, after that presentation that I did, next day we went down another 3,000 requirements that were just vanished. So yeah, so I think what I wanted to do, like what I put pressure on my team to deliver, I wanted my other colleagues to put pressure on their team to deliver, but again, for one objective. We are all what's the end game here? The end game is that we reduce requirements, and I gave a promise to my boss at the beginning of the project to reduce by 70%, and thank God we reduced it by 71%. But aligning everybody for one direction is that your team also needs to do the job to reduce their requirements, because their target is the same as my target. Again, it's alignment.
That mutually beneficial outcome is just key for the collaboration. And you put the accounting in place to hold yourself accountable, so the customer doesn't have to pay the price of that measurement. And that's why I think you've been so successful there and attracting so much attention and commitment and investment. When you think about the heart and soul and the purpose of what you do, you are responsible for a very extraordinary combination. You have a portfolio like I rarely see among leaders in the world, from airlines to healthcare to securities and exchange. Could you tell us a little bit about what it's like to motivate and attract people for that mission, and why do you think you got the opportunity to do that?
Well, first of all, it's a pleasure to be working for the government of Abu Dhabi and the government of United Arab Emirates, and I wouldn't have been where I am now without the support that I get from my boss and my leadership in Abu Dhabi. But you're absolutely right. That my first job, well, I'm only a public servant since 2.5 years now. So I became a public servant in 2019, November 2019. And here I am now. I am the chair of the Economic Development or the Minister of Economy of Abu Dhabi, and the chair of Etihad Airline Group, which is the official airline of United Arab Emirates, in addition to the chair of Abu Dhabi Investment Office, the Attraction and Promotion Agency of Abu Dhabi, and the chairman of the Security and Commodity Authority of the United Arab Emirates as well. I'll be honest with you, the first couple of years, Mark, wasn't easy for me. And especially finding the right people, finding the right team. You're only as good as the team around you. Yes, you can sleep 3-4 hours a day and do whatever you can in the rest of the day, but whatever you do, you're only as good as the people around you. And that's why you need to pick the right people. Take time until you find the right people. Yes, you will be stressed. You will exert a lot of energy until you find the right people, but it is completely worth it. The first 2 years was terrible until I found my real team. And without them, I wouldn't have been where I am now, I'll be honest with you. But they have to believe in what I believe. That was important to me. It's not about the financial package. It's not about where are they going to be. It's not about which entity they will be part of. I think the direction that we are trying to have or let them believe is what my boss wants. And again, is make Abu Dhabi as attractive as possible, as competitive as possible, and build our foreign direct investment, increase knowledge and innovation within our economy. If they don't believe this, if they are just a normal clockers, day clockers, and that's it, that won't work. Again, I think they need to believe in the cause. It's the cause.
Yeah, but when I think about the role that you played as a chief executive and as a chairman, this is a last question. I'd love to ask you about how it is that what would be what you wish you knew when you started out that you know today about a leader, and then maybe a little bit about the role of coaching in that experience as we've had the opportunity to work together, and you've been leading that effort as well.
Yeah, I think to answer your question bluntly, I think I would have got coaching from day one I came to the government. No, but putting laugh aside, I think I wouldn't change anything, to be honest with you, Mark. Probably the only two things that I will make that decision faster is bring better people much earlier. That's one. Two, get the right coach much earlier, because I think it's a journey as well. It's not you're not sitting with your dentist. You're not going to a dentist chair and he's doing a procedure and then you leave the clinic and that's it. No, I think it's a journey. It takes time.
Well, it's an honor to work with you.
Honor is mine, to be honest with you, Mark, and it's really a pleasure to be with you today again, as I mentioned earlier, and I'm happy to reflect and frame ideas that I think I am. It's a privilege for me where I used to be to where I am now, to be honest.
Yes, and it's a gift to the country and to the world that you accepted this responsibility for the vision that you're bringing to and the agency and impact that you can have in your role today, based on the pragmatism and the love and the sense of purpose that you've had in private companies and bringing that to the government. So congratulations on the work that you do. And
thank you. And we're only here to translate that vision of my leadership, the leadership of Abu Dhabi, by me, my colleagues, my chairpersons as well, to really make it something on ground that really works, something out of the box. Again, we need to tick the boxes of what our leaders want.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you taking the time to be with us, and we look forward to many more opportunities to show you off and show off the work of the great work that's being done. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. Pleasure is mine, Mark. Thank you so much for having me.